Our gospel reading for the 12th Sunday after Pentecost is from Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 20. Let me read that. Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "Who do you say that I am?" And Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." And then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. This was the passage that our sermon was on this past Sunday, and so parts of this I'm going to leave. You can see that online as well. Let me just comment briefly here. Caesarea Philippi is very close to the source of the Jordan River, so it's on the south slope of Mount Hermon. And it really is up and out of the land of Israel. Jesus has taken his disciples away from the crowd to get to this matter of them understanding who he is. He asks them this question. Some say, who do people say that I am? And some say Elijah, some say John the Baptist, some say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. John the Baptist had already died, and of course Elijah had been taken up in the whirlwind. Jeremiah had died, and all the other prophets had died. So just simply pointing this out to you, that there was widespread belief in the resurrection of the dead already at that time. So when Jesus talked about it, it was not an obscure idea. Now, there was one prominent group of people who denied the resurrection of the dead, and they were called Sadducees. And we find them at the beginning of chapter 16, together with the Pharisees. It's you need to be aware of this. When the Pharisees and Sadducees are making league against Jesus, it's not that they have, the only common ground that they have found is that they are opposed to Jesus. Other than that, they really don't share common ground. The Pharisees believe in the resurrection of the dead. The Pharisees believe in the authority of the Holy Scriptures. The Sadducees don't believe in the resurrection of the dead. The Sadducees only believe in the first 5 books, the books of Moses, and even then, not very vigorously. You are Peter, verse 18. You are Peter. If you want to write this in the margin, you can write Petros, 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 and circle Peter. And on this rock, you should circle that and write Petra, Petra. I will build my church. This is sadly the grammar here is missed by the Roman Catholic Church, the Church of the Pope. And their whole structure of their church and the authority of the Pope is really based on a misreading of this verse. The Lord is not building his church on Peter, the man. Jeremiah said, cursed is the man who puts his trust in mortal man. Jesus is not putting his trust in Peter. Good thing. Peter gives out now and then. The Lord is building his church on the Petra, the confession that came out of Peter's mouth, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. If we back up a little bit, this is just a little bit of contextual work. As we began chapter 16, the Pharisees and the Sadducees had come to Jesus, and they wanted a sign. And Jesus responded, an evil and adulterous generation wants a sign. And he says, no sign is going to be given to this generation except the sign of Jonah. At which point you need to go back and read the prophecy of Jonah, and in particular, chapter 2, where Jonah is in the belly of the whale, belly of the big fish, 3 days. That's the sign right there. It's worth noting that Jesus believed in Jonah. And if Jesus believed in Jonah and you're a follower of Jesus, then you do too. So Jesus is with this group of Pharisees and Sadducees, he and his disciples, and Jesus dismisses them with this, that you're not going to get any sign except the sign of Jonah. And then he and his disciples take off and go across the lake. And when they get to the other side, Jesus says to the disciples, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And they think, gosh, we didn't have any bread in the boat. When Jesus is talking about leaven, he's talking about bread. He's talking about, well, they didn't know about microorganisms, of course, but something that changes another substance. It grows in it, which, of course, leaven does, yeast does. And so they thought, gosh, we didn't remember to bring any food with us. What they missed was that Jesus was talking about not food, but the nature of leaven itself, what leaven does, the way it spreads and takes over the substance it is in. And the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees is really to be in authority over Jesus and his word, to judge Jesus and his word, and to treat Jesus like a poodle dog, to do tricks on command, and to not trust Jesus and his word and his promises. And so that admonition to be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that's one that you and I need to hear again and again. When Jesus speaks, we need to believe that it's good, even when it doesn't look that way. It didn't look that way to the disciples. It surely didn't look that way to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But Jesus really is good all the time. Okay, see you next week.